Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me on day 5 of our Disney nail art challenge. So today we are going to be doing Donald Duck. If you're sharing your work on social media, please don't forget to use the hashtag Disney nail art challenge so we can see how far our challenge goes. If you guys aren't yet part of the Facebook group, please do check out the description below and do join up because I am going to be posting a link in there for the next couple of days' time because we are going to be moving on to a different movie. So I think we have 4 more characters to do for Mickey and Minnie and Friends, and then we're going to be moving on to a different Disney movie, and I want you guys to choose what movie we're going to do next. So do pop into the Facebook group if you would like to cast your vote. And if you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so that we can keep bringing these video tutorials to you. Okay, so we are going to start off with using some yellow paint. So what we are going to do first of all is we are going to do his beak. So you want to start over the left hand side of the nail and do a little diagonal down, a straight line at the bottom, and then a little diagonal back up on the right hand side of the nail. And then across the top of the nail we are going to do 3 little bumps just to show off his beak. So we've got our first little bump. Our little bump in the middle is going to be a little bit bigger. And then on our bump on the right hand side, you want to have a little small ledge coming up off the very top of it, just to show off that his beak is 3D. And once you've got that done, you want to fill it in with your yellow paint. Sometimes I find that yellow paint is a little bit see-through, so if you're finding that your yellow acrylic paint is very see-through, try adding a little bit of white to it and it will increase the opacity of your paint. Okay, so you want to make sure that your beak is totally dry, and then we are going to move on to some outlining. So because this nail is on a white background, we don't actually need to paint in the white for Donald Duck. But if you chose a different background color, you are going to have to fill in your outline with some white paint. We're going to start off by outlining his beak, so you'll be able to see the little bumps a little bit clearer now. And you can see that we're wrapping around the right hand side, that little extra bump that we popped up there. Now we're going to draw in the top of his mouth inside his beak. So we're going to bring that line from our last little curve right the way in. And don't forget to do his little smiley cheek line. So for the top of his mouth, we're going right down from the little smiley cheek line, right the way down at a little diagonal. And then we're going to do a line across and we're going to meet his cheek. And that's the top of his lip. So once you've got the top of his lip outlined, we're going to outline the bottom of his beak, and we're just going to follow the yellow paint that we have already there. So a diagonal right down, curve in to the bottom of his mouth and the bottom of his beak. And then we're going to drag down from the top of his lip around and meet the bottom of his beak. Now we need to outline the bottom of his mouth. So we're going to start in the top corner. We're going to drag our line down at a little bit of a diagonal, and then we're going to follow the line of the bottom of his beak. Across the bottom and down the side. And that's his beak outlined. Now we need to outline his eyes. So we are going to do our egg shapes again. You can see in all of the tutorials so far that we've done on Mickey and Minnie and Friends that we've used egg shapes for all of their eyes. So you should be a master at egg shaped eyes at this stage. And if you do make any mistakes, even if you're using your white background nail, all you need to do is take a little bit of white paint and cover up your mistake with it. Super easy to fix. So we've got our first eye in, and we're going to move on then with our second eye. Once you're happy with the outline of your eyes, you're going to do your two smaller little legs inside for his pupils. So we've got our two pupils in, and then we are going to move on to his eyebrows. So you want to give him his eyebrows a little bit higher than what you would normally do, and you want them to be really curvy. So kind of like he looks like he's shocked at the minute. And what we are going to do then with this eyebrow is we are going to drag it right down and touch off the side of his eye. And with the second eyebrow, we are going to bring it in a slight curve down the side of his face, and we are going to touch off his beak. Now, not the very edge of his beak, because you do want his beak to stick out a little bit further than the side of his face. Just in a little bit from the edge of his beak. And then we want to raise his head up a little bit as well. So you want to give him kind of a square-shaped forehead that's raised slightly above his eyebrows. So we're going to bring a little diagonal up, straight across, and then a diagonal back down. Once you have that done, we're going to give little kind of triangular shaped flicks for the bottom of his beret, just slightly down into his forehead. You can just do this as a thick black line straight across if you'd like. And then you're going to take your blue paint and we are going to start to paint in his little hat. So over the left hand side we are going to start off with our egg shape again, kind of like a high little oval. And you want to keep this in a little bit from the side of his head. And we're going to swoop up and a diagonal down. And if you want, you can fill this in as you go. So see the way I almost have like a little egg on the top of his head? And then at a diagonal, we are going to slant the hat right down. And then we're going to add another little egg shape or ovally shape on the other side, but we're going to drag this side out over past the side of his head. And then you're going to fill that in. And you want to make sure that that's totally dry before adding your second layer of colour. Now again, you don't necessarily need to add a second layer of colour to this, but if you can kind of see through your hat, you do want to add a second layer of blue paint. So while that's drying, we are going to mix up our paint for our mouth. So what we are going to do for our mouth is we are going to mix some red and yellow together to make an orange paint. So we've taken a little bit of our red and we're popping it down into the yellow area. Give it a good mix up and don't forget to add your water if you need to. You want to make sure you've got enough paint mixed up to fill in the area that you want to work on. So we're literally colouring inside the lines here in his little mouth. Now if you want to use pink for this area you can. I just find with Donald Duck I like to use an orange. Once you've got his mouth coloured in, you want to take a little bit of black paint and give him a little tonsil. If you happen to paint over any of his mouth lines as well, you can give another quick little outline just around his mouth. So for his tonsil, all we're doing is a little triangle. Now, so you then want to go back and give your second layer of paint to your little hat if you need to. Then once your hat is dry, you are going to take some black paint and you're going to outline your hat. Once your hat's been outlined, you want to wait for your little design to completely finish drying, and then you are ready to top coat it, seal it in, and he's done. There he is. So cute. You can give him a few little flicks at the end of his hat as well if you'd like to. So we're going to top coat him now to see what he looks like shiny. You can also see a slightly easier version of Donald Duck on the left hand side. If you guys would like me to do a tutorial for him, please just pop a comment in the box below and I can do up a tutorial for him as well. And there he is. So guys, thank you so much for joining me on another tutorial. Tomorrow we are going to be doing Daisy Duck, who is super cute, super adorable, and a little bit more difficult than today's Donald Duck. Don't forget, if you would like to vote on which movie we do next, pop into our Facebook group. The link is in the description below, and I have also popped some links for some paint, some brushes, and for the tips that I use in the description below if you guys would like to check any of them out. If you've got any questions, as always, please pop them into the comment box below and I will answer them as soon as possible. Thank you so much, and I'll see you all tomorrow.